Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hun Club podcast, the product briefing show. Today I have Luke with me. Luke is our threat intelligence lead at Vectra AI from the security research team, and we are going to talk about how to proactive threat hunt in 5 minutes. So Luke, before we start, I'll let you introduce yourself to everyone.
Thanks very much. Hi, as Tiffany said, I'm Luke Richards. I've been with Vectra now for 8.5 years, almost to the day. I am the threat intelligence lead within the security research team. So that involves looking after the threat intel feed that we have inside the product, looking for ways to use that threat intel feed, enrich that threat intel feed, and also how to gather more threat intelligence based on the data that we see as well. Part of my job at Vectra historically has been working within the professional services team, helping customers understand the threats they face, how to utilize our products within their security operations center, and also assisting them when things go wrong and they're breached and they need some extra help on deck. That was our job, being dropped in, parachuted into customers and helping them out.
Yeah, amazing. So today we will talk about proactive threat hunting, and we know that this is something that brings a lot of value to security teams. Actually, a recent report from Gartner shows that organizations that proactive threat hunt can detect advanced threats 11 days earlier and save 1.3 million per incident on average. But then we know that it's often something perceived as something hard to do. Security teams may not have the time and expertise to do it, or even dedicated headcount on threat hunters. So, which is why we recently launched something called 5 Minute Hunt. It is a set of ready-made hunt queries that we publish every week, curated by our security research team, including Luke, yourself. And we aim to really make threat hunting easier for a lot of the security teams. So today I have Luke here, and he will walk us through a few of the 5 minute hunts that he created and why they are important to security teams. So, Luke, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. So before I go into my first threat hunt, I just want to say that the hunts that we're creating here are hunts that I would have used in my previous roles. I've been
Mm,
working in cybersecurity for a long time,
yeah,
and we booked out some of our time in the week to do this type of hunting activity. We had to comb through raw PCAP for an entire enterprise network. So the ability to use these 5 minute hunts is really useful in my opinion to give you that jumping off point.
yeah,
Um, because you start with a big question, you focus down to a small answer, and then you expand your question again.
yeah,
What am I looking for? Is this bad? How bad is it? What is it affecting? You get this sort of this sliding lens of how to look at these things. So the first one that I want to look into is something that I think a lot of people have been concerned with, um, and has a lot of implication with sort of many different scenarios on how this exists inside your network. And it is, I believe, the outbound SMB connections here.
mm, yeah,
So let me open this one. Now, this is our test environment. This is where we write our queries. So it's a very controlled environment. We don't necessarily have any outbound SMB connections here, as you can see. Um, but what we're doing within this search is we're searching for either the response port 445, so at a very basic level, is something connecting to something on the internet, where the local response is not true, for example, there, on 445. So this is just the real low level TCP sort of like, I'm looking for this port which represents SMB. And we also have the service SMB as well. So either of these conditions. So this is extracted through um, our metadata. We identify the service based on not just the port, but other indicators inside that as to what the service would be. And we can extract that and put that into our iSession data.
mm,
So one of the reasons this is really important for security teams is, first of all, you don't want unauthorized file transfer in or out of your network over SMB.
yeah,
It's usually fairly locked down on like your primary enterprise networks, but if you have a sprawling enterprise, you have legacy systems that have been grandfathered in from
mm,
acquisitions or mergers, or even just your scope has now expanded to pick up that strange manufacturing hub that is part of your business, but you didn't really have control over, but now you do.
yeah,
They may have systems where SMB goes out all the time. So the
Mm,
first thing it's useful for is finding those sort of quote unquote unauthorized connections or risky connections.
yeah.
SD is not some, file transfer in and out is not something that should be happening regularly. The
Mm,
other thing really useful for is there have been many, many high profile attacks that have used SMB
mm,
external connections as a way to harvest credentials
right.
by sending either just a link sometimes in an email. So we have really old examples of links in email saying you need to click this. Using whatever phishing lure they want. Here's some free cheese if you click this link. It would take you to an SMB share, which is
Mm,
just by the file colon slash slash URL,
yeah.
and you would connect to that, send your credentials externally, and then an attacker could harvest them, crack the
Mm,
password, and then use that when they breach. But we've also seen automated versions of that.
mm,
So the Russian group who deployed Sandworm a long time back
yeah.
used an exploit inside PowerPoint to extract credentials using SMB. And we've seen more and more flaws like this over the years,
Yeah.
which have meant that external SMB connections, sending your credentials out, is incredibly risky, but attackers still use it. It's still often used.
Yeah.
We've had vulnerabilities this year around SMB, so it's such a I mean, it's an old protocol. It was again, like Express networks, it was kind of grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Um, but it's such a prevalent attack vector that attackers still use it today. And having something like this where you can just quickly click on it and say, show me any outbound SMB connections.
Mm,
If it comes back like this, that's great. That's kind of what you want to see. As
yeah.
long as you have good south coverage, that's what you want. You want no results. You don't want to be sending data out of the network.
Yeah. But if there is results, what would you recommend security teams to do?
So the first thing that you would do is you would ask the user. We can drill into the host record, find out who the user was for this, or we can drill into the SMB records
Yeah.
through Investigate or through even the basic searching. If you
Mm,
take the host ID, we can then find out who was logged into the system and find out if they were aware that they'd done this. Is this part of their job? I've worked in previous places where this was sometimes people did send things to external suppliers through SMB, and it was crazy, and we were bemused by it, but they'd been doing it for 30 years, and we're like, okay, fine, yeah, let's kind of come up with a better system.
yeah.
So the first
Yeah.
thing is to always ask. You always ask somebody, did you know this happened? If they
Mm,
say no, kicks off a further sort of investigation. It becomes more like an instant response where you have to start looking at things like, did you receive emails? Let's go through the email records that we may have from our email monitoring system. Did
mm,
you open a doc? Did you open another file? Are there other connections inbound and outbound to this host that we can look into?
yeah.
Those sorts of things as well.
Okay.
And then, if you do find somebody's connected to an external SMB and they're unaware that they were doing it, I think your then next port of call is to call the service desk and go, hey, this user needs to be locked out of their account because someone may have their credentials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Can you walk us through one more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to open it from here as well so we can just see it going. So the next one I want to look at is a slightly older one. It's this JA3 unique pairings search that I created. So the idea behind this one is a bit more broad than the external SMB. With external SMB, you would hope that you don't have results. With this one, you will probably always have some results. Um, the idea behind this is JA3 was created a few years back now
Mm,
as a way to fingerprint the SSL connection behavior of a client. So the um, the encryption level it used, the algorithms it used within that sort of SSL handshake
mm,
um, were reduced to a hash. This is called the JA3 hash. And we also have now JA3S hashes. There's like extensions upon extensions to this. We're now on to JA4. But JA3 and JA3S as a pairing can sometimes tell you unique things about a client and a server.
mm,
So, for example, there are some well-known PowerShell JA3 hashes you can have. There are some older Cobalt Strike implant hashes, which come up a lot. Um, but the idea behind this search is not to expose those individual objects, whilst those can be useful, they're fairly well known, they're fairly well documented, and attackers can also sort of change their behavior based around that.
Mm.
But this idea is to say, do we have a unique client going to a unique server using SSL TLS? And can we identify those?
Yep.
So the idea behind this is we order them by count ascending. So what you won't expect to see is like 100 million connections from your Microsoft Windows clients to Microsoft Update, because that will have a pairing,
Mm.
but that will be hundreds or thousands depending on your client estate.
Yeah.
What we're looking for are unique clients and unique servers that are in the low counts, which could be indicative of a system on your or an implant on your machine
Mm.
talking to a unique destination using a unique command and control structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, these results here are fairly interesting, but we can tell immediately by the server, which is extracted from the SSL certificate
Mm.
field, these are not immediately suspicious. So obviously you have things like Bing, Skype, Ubuntu. So whilst not immediately suspicious, these could also give you insights into systems inside your network that you weren't aware of.
Yeah.
For example, if you don't have any Ubuntu systems in your network, why is something reaching out to ubuntu.com? That would possibly give you something to investigate. So this could be either the idea of like shadow IT, someone's brought in
Yeah.
their own systems and they're plugging them in.
Yeah.
Or it could be, I mean, I've worked in places where we would search for red teams who would bring in their own laptops, and we had ways and means of
Mm.
finding those guys. They
Yeah.
plug their stuff in on site, and
Yeah.
immediately we go, oh, reaching out for your, uh, yeah, your red team domains or your corporate domains, because these guys are hired by companies. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the whoever comes in, their laptop's going to reach out, so we would immediately go, there you are.
Mm.
So these things as well in exposing unique devices or unknown devices to yourself as well. So this has like broad applications from potentially suspicious or malicious connectivity to
Yeah.
peacetime value. Oh, hey, I didn't realize I had this system hanging
Yeah.
around in my network.
Yeah. Like for compliance issues as well, that they can find gaps on
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. My brain's always like a security operation center analyst. So
Mm.
I jump to, this is bad for me. If it becomes a compliance issue, it used to become a problem for the guys outside the door. We
Mhm.
would turn up with a stream of paper going, hey, here are 50 hosts that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Uh,
Go
go and
fix it.
get them in line.
Yeah.
We
Totally.
but yeah, here's some bad stuff for you guys to do today as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
they they didn't like it when the door opened behind them and we walked out with paper. They knew what the problem was. They knew that they had a new load of work to do that day.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, these are super helpful. And I know that one of the unique things that we offer is really the metadata, the network metadata that we have, like such as, JA3 or even JA4. It's something that offers really valuable insights for security teams. And not only 5 minute hunts, but if security teams want to continue their search, they can always go to AI assisted search to like get recommendation on what's next step that they need to go investigate based on these findings. So it really lowered the barrier on the kind of you need a dedicated
Yeah,
security expert headcount to do this. We really want to make it more simple for everyone.
yeah. The AI assisted search has been fantastic in creating some of these as well.
Yeah,
Here's my other assistant. Uh, but yeah, even as a, like a jumping off point, you have an idea that you want to maybe test,
yeah,
then you into the AI assisted search. It gives you that jumping off point to actually
exactly.
start start that big question basically before you focus down. It's the big question
Yeah.
first. It can bring you those results.
Yes, 100%. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Luke. I'm sure this is not the last show you will be on. I'll keep inviting you back to the show to talk more about the amazing query that you create for us. And with that, this is the wrap of the episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for tuning in for this episode. And if you haven't checked out our other content on hunting, do make sure you check them out, and hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks very much.